Welcome everyone to our webinar that's going to feature not only the new version of Coding Rooms, but our CSAwesome integration, which is the main reason why everyone's here. So some of you may not be as familiar with Coding Rooms, but may be very familiar with CSAwesome. And we're going to show you how we've put those two wonderful tools together for a really, really exciting computer science learning experience in our platform. What we're going to do is I'm going to demo kind of this new experience for you so you can see what it's like and see if you're interested in checking it out. And we're going to be providing a survey in the chat that will allow you to sign up to become part of our next round of beta testers for the product. Some people in the room I know are already testing the product, which is great, and we're glad to have you here. If you really are interested in getting your hands on this immediately, make sure you fill out that survey, no matter if you're using Coding Rooms currently or you're not using Coding Rooms currently and you'd like to start, just to start to check out this CSAwesome integration. Feel free, we have a number of Coding Rooms representatives here in the room, so please feel free to use the chat at any time and they will get right to answering your questions. And I'll try to answer questions live also. So let's jump right into it. So right here, what you can see on my screen share is our new version of Coding Rooms. For those of you that are familiar with Coding Rooms, you may notice that this interface looks different. And this is our new version. New, improved, and you're going to love all the features. The first thing I want to point out, of course, is we can go and create a new course up in this top right-hand corner. And when you do that, you're going to be presented with not only be able to start your own course and start to create the content, but you can actually import CSAwesome's interactive textbook as a Coding Rooms course. We're going to be working on adding a number of other courses, especially those free open source textbooks that are on Runestone. So keep an eye out. We've got a lot of exciting stuff to come, especially in the new year. But for now, if you sign up and we accept you into the beta program, you can use this as a template. You go ahead and you click that CSAwesome template and you can give it your own custom name. And change the headline. And as all of you know, or most of you certainly know, CSAwesome has quite a number of different pages and over the different modules. So if you don't want them to all be published as soon as you create the course, you want to check off this toggle here, turn that on so you can unpublish all the content, which I'm going to do now. If you'd like your students to kind of see all the content very similar to how CSAwesome is currently, you could do that. You can leave that untoggled. Though I know, speaking to lots of CSAwesome teachers, sometimes they want to kind of, restrict how much is there because the students can get lost in the, pages and pages of content. So I'm going to create the course now, and this is where the magic is. Thank you. So there's quite a number of pages that it's going to kind of bring over here. So it can take a minute to load. As you know, with all the content, every image, every IDE instance, it's all coming over into Coding Rooms. When we click that button, and then here you are in our new interface. When we have a course, students and teachers can see all the course content over on this left navigation bar. We can open up each of these modules that you're probably familiar with, the different sections of CSAwesome. We can go in and we can look at any of the individual pages now. And what you'll notice is that we've pulled in all the content that's in CSAwesome, and now you can see it in this version of Coding Rooms. Another wonderful thing that you may enjoy as a teacher is you can come over. You have this page now And you can actually go in and you can actually edit the page. So you can start to customize the content. And you can add lots of different things. So all of the CSAwesome content is here. See, we have the video, we can play the videos. We have the multiple choice questions. The Parsons problems, everything. And of course, the IDE instances, only now we have Coding Rooms IDE embedded on the page. Even we pull out all of the auto grading that CSAwesome's already provided so that it's already there. These examples from the CSAwesome curriculum are already then auto grade for you, but you can also check that stuff out if you'd like. So auto grading is already set up for you. CSAwesome team's done an excellent job kind of creating that for you. Now you have the IDE instance right over here right on the page using Coding Rooms. You can see how kind of everything's coming over. So here's one of those kind of code highlight questions. Those come over nicely. We got point values assigned to them. The Parsons problems, the fill in the blanks, all that comes right over and you can use it in Coding Rooms. What I'd like to show off for a minute too is something like in Unit 2, where we do some of the turtle work. And now we're getting into some graphics. Well, that's one of the things that I really love about Coding Rooms IDE is I think it works so smooth and so well, these type of assignments. So if I come down to an instance of our turtle code over here, I can run the code, and of course I can view the desktop. And I can see my output right here. So students will be able to do that. Just click run, see it right there. It runs really smooth, really fast, and it's really powerful. We can go over, students can, of course, view that in full screen really easily so they can check out their output nice and big and all those other niceties of the Coding Rooms IDE. So a couple of people said, can you edit? Yeah, you can edit different things, everything on the page. You don't like this image, you want to replace it with your own, you can delete that image and add your own image there. You can do anything you want. You want to add your own video, you can do that. How our editor works is that on any page, you can come over and you can just start typing content like you saw me do earlier, or if you type / to bring up our block editor, our block menu for all the different components that you can add onto a page here. Of course, you get your different formatting, so you can insert a link, you can insert bullets, quotes, dividers, tables, images, code blocks of your own. But then we have our interactive blocks where we can add those checklists, which I really enjoy. It's not really something I think is in the CSAwesome curriculum, but this is something if you give your students some projects where you list out some requirements and you want to make sure that they can keep track of those requirements, you can add this checklist, interactive checklist block. You can give it a title and you can give them the different things to do, and they'll be able to actually come over and check these things off, and it will persist between sessions. So they'll close out of their tab. When they come back to the assignment, they can check out their checklist and where they're left off. So you can add some really nice things to this. Of course, you can add your own instances of the Coding Rooms IDE. You can embed in other things. Something, for instance, if anyone's used Python Tutor before, which lets you, with a single click, walk through the different lines of code and check out the output and what's going on in the computer's memory, stuff like that. Really great teaching tool. You can embed those snippets, and I believe the CSAwesome curriculum has some of those embedded in for the Python Tutor. You can embed that right onto the page. Any other website you want to embed a Google Doc or anything else, you can embed it right inside the page here for students to interact with. You want students to be able to upload a file to submit to you, you can also add that where we can do a file upload and students will be able to actually submit a file to you, which is really nice. Any point in time while you're authoring these things, editing the pages, or you just want to see what the CSAwesome page looks like, from the student view. Top right-hand corner, you can click on Student Preview, and you can check it out from the student's perspective. So what's it going to look like as a student where you can't edit, you know, the text in here and stuff like that, delete the images. This is what the student will see. So you'll notice in this kind of essay style question, open response question here, that we give the students, they can type in, format their answer. So you can have those open essay questions. Here's one of those drag and drop options, specific instance of a class. Okay, and they can do that. So now you can play around with those things. You can check your answers too, you know, to see if you're correct or not. Yeah, I got it right. So that's a good way to also just make sure that your page that you've designed kind of works well, and that everything is correct if you've edited things. Again, this is what the student will see. So notice that they can reset back to the template code that you provided. And you can do all of those things. If you want to go over to the individual items, you know, there's some default values that everything's worth it points wise, but if you want to modify how many points each of these individual graded items are worth, you can go ahead and do that. And you notice the total comes up at the top here. So that will display, but you can also modify the total amount for the page if you want to. Let's say you want to manually check and then, you know, give them the remaining points. There's a number of things you can do, very, very customizable about how you want to grade the page for the students and how you want to assign points. So you can modify the number of points each thing is worth. Again, we just do you know, a default value, but you can go in and you can change these things. Maybe you even want something to be worth no points. That's okay. You can do that. You can make it worth no points, and students do it. They can check their answer, but it doesn't affect the grade on the page. So you can go through and you can do all that type of work. When you're ready to give it to students, you're going to click on Publish. And when you publish it, let's say you have different sections, you can assign it to every student in a section of your class that you set up. You can assign it to all students in every section. We are even allowing for group work. So now you can make it so that a group of students that you pre-configure into different groups allows you to actually have that group collaborate on the page, work together, and submit one page to you as a group, which is really, really exciting about collaboration and group work. I mean, what's amazing about this page is everything's in real time. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you what it looks like to have the student, you know, the student's view also. So I'll open the student and the teacher side by side. And what you're going to see is everything just works in real time. You edit something on the page, it's going to update on the student's view if you made a mistake. If you want to check what the student's doing currently on the pages, you're going to be able to check that in real time. We have some things, this is still in beta. We have some improvements we have on the roadmap that make it even more amazing, but it's pretty shocking what you can do currently. So you can go over, you can assign it to whatever level of students you want, just one section of your course, all of your courses, make it a group assignment, things like that. You can set the due date. You can set the available from and until date. So you can add a closing date essentially, so students won't be able to submit past that date. So you have that type of control that we want as teachers to deliver the assignment and show students when the period in which we want to accept the assignment and when the assignment's due. A couple of people I've noticed in the chat, I know it's hard for me to kind of keep up with the chat fully, have asked about different learning management systems that maybe your school district uses, and what can you do with this version of Coding Rooms with it? Well, I can see that Sasha starts to mention LTI, so we're doing some work with LTI, which is really great. It's gonna help you out tremendously when it comes to working with your learning management system. But really the simple thing that you could do is every single page, this little share icon, you can click that and it just copies the URL for this individual page. And if your students are enrolled in the course and you give them that URL, let's say Google Classroom you use, you just post that URL in Google Classroom, they click on it, they log in, it brings them right to that page so they can get to work on that page for the day. So you can set up your assignments in your learning management system that way. It's really simple for students to open the work and kind of get right to work and get to it. So you publish the page, makes it available to students. You notice the icon over here changed on me. So a little icon with a lock means the page not published. So it's an indicator for you as the teacher to know if it's published or not. No lock means this page is published now, students can access it. In order to actually add a student to the course, you're going to want to go over this People tab. And this is where you can create your different sections. So let's say you teach, you know, a period 2 AP Computer Science A. And you create, you also teach a, you know, period 6 AP Computer Science A class. So you have 2 different classes, different students are going to be in those classes. That's great. You can create those sections so you enroll students just in those individual sections. So when you're assigning and setting due dates, you can have it be different for those different sections, depending on the pace of that class, when that class meets, etc. And then you can just simply, on the All Students area, click this Invite Someone, copies the link. On the course overview, we also show the join URL and the join code. So it's available there for you as the teacher to very easily grab. I would say if you do set up these sections, I would say you want to copy the individual sections join code. So then it's easy for you to just enroll them in the appropriate section. You don't have to worry about moving them around after. On the student's end, here's my Joe Mazzone student over here. You can just give them that URL in Google Classroom, whatever. They enter it, they're logged into Coding Rooms or not. If they're not, it will just prompt them to log in and they join the course and they see what's available. So notice I have everything that's in CSAwesome over here, but the student only sees that one page that I've published. Of course, they're only going to see the pages that we publish for them to see. So if there's certain pages you don't need to publish at all, don't publish them so students don't see them. And the student can come over now that this is published. I'm going to open up the same page on the teacher end. Let's get this little. And we can collapse. You can collapse this view over, gain more screen real estate, which is really nice. And so here I am as the student. I can go through and I can answer questions. And you can answer those questions, and the student can move along and go through everything in the course. Say beta product, we do have a small bug. Ryan, if you could take a note of that. Can't get these out of here after. Oh, there it goes. We can make that a little bit nicer. But anyways, we can go through, we can check the answer, and we can see if we're correct or not. So student goes through, I set that to 0 points, they don't get points for that. They go through and they answer the different questions. And then when they're done, they can mark it as done. But let's say the student's currently working on the page. I can come over here, and so this little button on the right in the teacher view, over here on my left is the teacher's view. I can open up what we call our speed grader, and all the students would be listed here that are in your course. And if you have different sections, of course, you can drill down to the individual section level, so you can just view those students in that section at a time. And I can see how a student's doing. Oh, this student, Joe Mazzone student, he got a point. He's done something and he's gained a point. Great. So I can kind of see their progress as they're going through. But I can also just open up their page and see what's going on here. So I can come over to Joe's student. We got 1 point. Okay, great. Come through. Oh, this is, he submitted this. Great job, Joe. I love Java too. I'm going to give him 2 points there. So now I'm kind of going through it, and so I can grade the things that don't automatically grade. And I can check on the student's work. For instance, let's see. Now the dev team is really like the sweat dripping down their head as I'm about to try something like this, but because they've worked really hard on it. But I'm over here, and I'm curious. I know Joe's over on this question. Curious how they're doing on that. Come over. Did you notice on the teacher side it updated as the student did? So I can come over and say, no, it's actually this. It's an update on the teacher side. So in real time, you can watch the students as they're completing the multiple choice questions. I see your mind's blown over here. It's exactly my feeling when it happened. And I can see the student check the answer, and they're like, is it right? I got it right. In a little bit, it's an update over on the teacher end. They got a point. We'll be working on some of those refreshes. That happens a lot throughout the system. We're still dealing with the real-time system here. So it did refresh and brought the teacher back up to the top of the page, but that's okay. Student goes down to real-time IDE. We're both in there. See right here? We're both in that IDE. Teacher comes around, student can see where the teacher is, teacher can see where the student is in real time. So you can go over, you can collaborate with the students, and this is how the group pages work now. When we have a group of students working together, they're going to be able to see each other interacting that way. You know, one student answers the multiple choice question, all the other students see the answer that someone clicked on. All the students are in the IDE together working, collaborating. And this is where the power of coding rooms with the awesome CSAwesome curriculum is just absolutely amazing. And one of the reasons why we at Coding Rooms were so excited to work with CSAwesome to be one of the first curriculums to start using this tool that we're working on, the new version of Coding Rooms. And of course, so when the student's all done, they're going to mark this as done. And if they don't mark it as done, you have a flag here as the teacher to say, hey, it's not marked as done yet. So you know the student's still working on it and that they're going to be editing their responses and stuff like that. So once they click mark as done, though, it says submitting to the student, lesson marked as done. They can't change anything anymore. Well, that didn't work exactly right, but they shouldn't be able to change anything anymore on the student's end because now it should be locked for submission. They can unmark it as done, and then it alerts the teacher, hey, this is ready for review. I can come over here and I can say, job, I can leave feedback. Variable names, I can leave them great feedback. I can come over, I can save that. And now that I've saved that, the student, notice this just popped up on the student's end. Everything's working really smooth. I'm really proud of the Coding Rooms team. I'm a little surprised at how fast everything's loading up. It's amazing. Click view feedback, and now the student can see the feedback right there on the page. What I love too, student can go to the gradebook, and let's say they're just looking at assignments on the gradebook. So if I got a 4 out of 24. They can view the feedback here also. That view feedback's going to show up there for them. So, and we even have some other things in our back pocket that we're looking at to make sure, because we know how important it is for teachers to be able to leave feedback for students and for students to actually discover the feedback easily so they're actually looking at it. So we're trying to make the system very convenient for students to just easily view the feedback on their submissions. So that's some of the work we've done there. Check marks here because the students completed all their work now. It's fairly easy for them to kind of see it in that view. We're even looking at ways that we can improve that so the student really knows what I need to work on, what needs to be finished, and you know, what's past due. So we're doing some stuff there with that. But for right now, we have these check marks. Everything's good. They've submitted that. And of course, like I said, they can go back and they can uncheck this as long as it's not past the closing date. That closing date's what's going to lock the students out of doing that. So you want to set it if you don't want students to be able to go back in and change things. And it alerts you on your end, not marked as done now. Feedback's still there, everything is good, and they can go in. Now, one of the things that I think we realized with the classic version of Coding Rooms and a lot of these learning platforms is sometimes you go through and you go, all right, there's a grade there because there's auto grading stuff, but I have no idea. I can't remember if I reviewed the student's work. Like there's some other things in here. I can't remember. So we've added this checkbox here so you can mark it as like I reviewed this. So you have an indicator that you've reviewed this work. And then you can also return this for revision for the student so they know and you know I've reviewed this, but you have some other stuff to do here. Please take a look at my feedback. And I'm gonna return this to you for revision. And now notice it's no longer green check mark. Students no longer done. Notice the red indicator at the bottom, returned and needs revision. So now we're indicating to the student, hey, you need to redo this page. I've probably left you some feedback for you to do that. If I had other students here, I could use this navigation to navigate back, forward and back to different students, and I would have the different ones here with the check marks indicating if I've reviewed that student or haven't reviewed that student yet. So really easy for you to start to discover, who you need to grade and not grade. Some things exciting to come. I'm going to kind of just take questions from the audience in just a minute here for the rest of our time. But I do want to describe one other thing. And a big thing to come is if you've used Coding Room before, you may be saying, where's the live classroom? Well, what's amazing about this is everything's live. So we're going to be adding some additional things to add a little bit more feature parity with the classic live classroom that we've had. But essentially, you'll be able to go live on any page and have students follow along with you as you go through a page. And they'll be able to see your presentation of what you want to show the students and their page side by side, so they can work on their page that they're submitting to you while you're scrolling through and working on a page to explain details to them, to type in an example, to talk through things, even if it's for review after they submit, or it's one of the CSAwesome pages you're going through together as a class. I know I did that a number of times. Some pages I would go through together as a class, we would do kind of together. Other pages kind of more student independent work. You will have the ability to do that in Coding Rooms in our new version, which is really cool, really powerful. Could someone on the Coding Rooms team throw in the form now into the chat for individuals that want to sign up to gain access to this beta version? And we'll throw in the chat a couple more times. But if you are interested in gaining access to this, please fill out the form. We'll get back to you for our next round of testers that we want when we're ready to add another round of testers to do some of that. You'll be able to, once you get access to this, it's not just for CSAwesome too. You can start to create your own courses. A couple people earlier mentioned HTML and stuff like that. For any of your programming courses, you can start to use this beta version with your classes once you get access to it through the form. Myra brought up, can students annotate on a page? Currently, they cannot annotate on the page. If you want students to have kind of free response typing, maybe conversation type of things, you're going to want to use that open answer type of question here. Let me get out of the students' work. You're going to short answer is what we call it. And so someone brought up something, Lisa brought it up. Can you add your own pages? Absolutely. So maybe I wasn't very, very clear on that, but you import CSAwesome. You can, of course, edit the page, but you can add your own pages. You can come down here to this create button. So let me go over this a little bit before we open fully for questions. You can go over, you can create your own page, lesson page. And you can start with a blank page, and it's right here in the CSAwesome curriculum. You can add your own module. You could put it inside of a module that makes sense for whatever this page is. So you could add on to the curriculum. When you go to create something in this new version, you have that lesson, which is that page we've been seeing. You can create a module, which is just creating those folders to organize your different pages. But if you're someone that likes, especially I like this for more of the independent projects. If you like that older style Coding Rooms assignment view, where on the left you had information and on the right they had a larger IDE, you can create a coding assignment, is what we call it. And you can select a particular language. And you can pick what module you want to put it in, or you can just put it at the course level. And when you create this, it's gonna be a little bit more familiar of a style to it, the page, where you have Coding Rooms IDE over here on the right hand side, and now you can type some information over here. So before Coding Rooms, you have a prompt area, you put in all your information, you switch over a tab, set up your template. Now it's all right in front of you. No tabs you have to switch between. Set up your template, go over, create a test bench, create a model solution for the code, for the assignment for the students. But what's amazing is this prompt supports all that wonderful stuff we saw. You can even, with an assignment type like this, embed in another IDE instance if you want. For example, maybe you want to give a couple of examples to your students. Say, remember this from the lesson. run this code to refresh your memory about how this works, etc. You can have that over here. So students can run instances over in the instructions. And then this area on the right is kind of their main project they're submitting. These individual items could be worth points too. You make them not worth points on the page. You can do the creativity is up to your imagination on what you can do on a content page.
Hey, Joe, can I ask you something?
Absolutely.
So what I've been doing right now in the class is I basically set up a live classroom that just always stays on. And I've asked students to do all their work there because I can just look up any student at any time, look up their name and look at their workspace. But it felt a little convoluted, and I was always afraid when I left the live classroom, I would accidentally close it instead of leave it. And then nobody would be able to get to their work. So what would the new equivalent of that be? Like the general workspace where students are going to put all their project files and things that are not necessarily one assignment or one module.
Yeah, I mean, you could just create one page for that, just like this coding assignment page, and it would be right here. They could just create it right there.
And so then I could go in and see that, and the TAs could see that at any time, the way we do now with the live classroom.
Yep. Not exactly the as elegant individual blocks live in real time, everybody at once. We're in the process of bringing that.
Well, the thing is, what I would do is I would randomly call a student and bring their work up on my projector. So I only ever needed one at a time. I don't need
even better. Absolutely. So you can just click on an individual student work and it's just going to show their work.
But it'll still show all the files and everything. So the tool, it looks like the tool hasn't changed much on the left. They can still make folders and files and everything.
UI is just slightly different. You're looking, maybe they made it look a little prettier, but it's exactly the same.
So we really don't need live classrooms anymore. We just tell everybody go there at this time of day if you want.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Because everything's just live all the time.
Nice. Yeah, that whole like join, you've already joined, it's already started. That like got very confusing.
We've heard that as feedback. We saw those things, and so that's exactly what this tool's trying to improve on, is some of that workflow. Yep, scanner works. Everything works. Input output. This full Linux instance it's running on. It will run down here in the console. You can do graphics, GUIs, everything. So if you're not familiar with,
is there any kind of
all supported
possibility of a linting tool?
Yeah, if the engineering team wants to talk about that, I know you've talked to different people about those things. Sasha, you came on if you want.
Yeah, the formatting is there for most languages now. So you just need to, I forgot the keyboard shortcut, but if you right click,
command.
Yeah, format document, Shift Alt F. Yeah, that should do it. And so it takes a sec because it calls a web service to do it, but that will do standards from Java formatting for you in a second. I'm not 100% sure it actually works on this version, but it for sure works on Classic.
Yeah, it definitely works on Classic. I just did it recently.
Yeah, so we'll actually note that down.
There's another comment I saw. Oh, the sandbox activities. I think you were talking about, Daryl, individual workspaces. That should actually that should be available very soon, correct? Correct. Brian was just working on something with that. It's essentially our old style will be available in this version. Just correct me if I'm wrong, Tim. So Lisa, you just mentioned currently, so I can make assignments where I can pick questions from different modules. Can we do this in Coding Rooms template? I'm unfamiliar with that. If someone wants to just unmute and kind of speak about that specifically.
I feel comfortable speaking to that. So I think the question is about picking like a few problems from a page and assigning those as an assignment. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're currently thinking about that, but there's kind of an easy hack that you can use for now, which is on those pages, you can assign the pages, and then you can set the point values for each problem. So the point, so most problems will have like 1 or 2 points. So problems that are optional, you can set to 0 points. Or if you want to allow them to just say like pick a few problems off the page, and you only need to do 5 problems out of 20, then you can set the total point value for the page to 5, and then they'll be able to pick any 5 to get to those points. We're still working on some of the rules for that, but that's definitely on the way. So there will be feedback forms throughout the beta process. I think the first one will go out either Thursday or Friday of this week. And so definitely, if you're missing features like that, please let us know. We'll work on that.
Yeah, so just to give a visual of what Sasha just mentioned here, you get the total grade, points for the page that will add up as you kind of affect these other things. But if you manually enter something, like let's say we want this to be only worth 2 points, and then we go to each of these different coding challenges and we make them 1 point each. In order for a student to get a 100, they only have to complete 2 of them. So they can have instructions at the top, only need to complete 2 coding practice. Someone mentioned the gradebook, so let me give that a view. I only have 1 student in this example, so it's not going to be, an amazing thing. I only have 1 page published too, so that's there. Although I think the gradebook has really improved also. What I really enjoy, especially in something like CSAwesome, where we're going to have a ton of different pages, is you can filter by just selecting a particular module. Let's say you only want to see the published assignments in module 3. You can select that and it will only show those particular scores. So notice I have nothing published in there, so it doesn't show anything. But if I select module 2, for instance, there's that 1 assignment. You can also select the particular sections if you set those up. And you can change between sorting students by their first name or their last name. And we have some other improvements, so please provide feedback on what you think you would love to see in this gradebook view. You can click on an individual assignment and it will bring you to that assignment and open the speed grader where you can check out those things. So if you're looking at the gradebook and you need to click on something, Gradebook is just accessible to grade section in this top left-hand corner. And if you go to an individual student, you can view their individual submission. You can edit their points right here, and you can even open the feedback that you left. Since I resubmitted that and went through that process, there's no feedback currently there. But you can just view their submission. It brings you right to that particular assignment. Should have brought me right to that student's page also. And there it goes. This was just not open.
So Joe, we have a couple people from my institution here, and we're actually at a university, and we've had to try and convert it to a semesterly model where we're sort of doing all the content across 2 semesters.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really excited about this, but I want to ask a little bit more about how you organize. Like, we actually want to take the first 6 modules and convert them into 12 modules. So can I just use the management tools to sort of break those into pieces by moving pages around and editing them?
Absolutely. So yeah, so we can take this and we can create a new module. And place it wherever we want. There we go, over here, and then I can move these pages into that new module. You can even put modules inside of modules. So you can put you can nest these folders inside of each other.
So we could convert like not chapter 5, we could convert to 5A and 5B and just split them out that way.
Exactly.
And somebody mentioned earlier about reverting. I'm a little bit uptight about fixing what I see as the gospel of the textbook, but I want to change something. So does it make more sense to copy the module, hide the original, and edit mine, or just know that I can always restore some from somewhere else?
Yeah, it might be good to do that now. As of this moment, you could always create a new CSAwesome, which will pull the latest updates and kind of check on that page. What we're hoping to do in the future is kind of have our own version control system for the pages, especially if it's pulled from these open source textbooks and stuff like that, or any other curriculum that people want to provide on Coding Rooms, and if someone's using that curriculum, that you can essentially see when there's a change on a page, an update, and accept that change or not. So we'll have some kind of version control in the future for those type of things. But for now, you may want to keep your own kind of version control system where maybe you keep a original copy of the page in your edited copy.
And then speaking of the versions, I appreciate your answers there. I put a question in the chat is I pull all of the other textbook questions that are not actually incorporated into the text, but they're sort of I guess they are, but they're like the programming review and such.
Yep.
Would you mind opening up, for example, like on one of these modules, go to the end? I think it would be like a mod 413 would be like the review practice exercise section. Yeah, or the 410 or 49.
Yeah.
So it has all of that anything that came with the textbook, right?
Yep, should.
Now, what about all the community contributed questions? Are those vetted or just not included?
I don't believe we include those, but I would have to.
But you did do
ask
any
them.
that are in the book, like, because they had the little
Yes.
book icon when we select exercises.
I believe so.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
And there are some small formatting things and other stuff that we'll be cleaning up on the import, but all the content is there. It does come over for anything that's just on the Runestone site.
So could you illustrate, just for example, on this, it says part A, number of leap year, but then below it says leap years plural. So can you just edit that heading right there? Nice. Wow. That seems too. So is there any reason you couldn't repurpose this platform for like a history class?
You absolutely could. And I think as we move through and we perfect this for computer science, you may see it as just a content authoring and publishing platform for other content areas.
Nice, because I'm also doing a lot of web development, so I'm curious about if there were other things like the web development for everyone from Charles Severance, to pull something like that.
Yeah, I can say that all of the open textbooks that are on Runestone, we will have in the fairly near future. So all of those 20 or so open textbooks will be in there, which is amazing. It's going to provide a lot of free open source content for people to get going in their classroom in a really accessible, user-friendly, and effective and efficient way to run your classroom. Any other questions? Please feel free to unmute. Now is your time. Someone from the Coding Rooms team, if you could just throw that link into the form. Of course, we want people to be filling out the form also, so you can gain access to this version. Start to play around with it. Use it in your classroom. Of course, provide us with feedback.
So I've got another one then. We have the paid account for the university, but my full-time job is actually at a community college where it's a lot harder to come up with the funding. But I know Coding Rooms, I can do a lot with it. The free version, I just can't use the custom exercises. So to the extent that this is all sort of pre-published, what do you get with the free version in terms of this?
I'm gonna let Sasha.
That's a good question. So for the beta, we're currently not blocking people based on free/paid. So that's why there's like a registration form, and we're kind of keeping track of everybody who's on the beta. But what's going to happen is soon we'll have a way for you to import content from the classic version of Coding Rooms into this new version, and sort of in step with all of those updates as we move out of beta. we will extend our freemium model. So more or less, you'll have the same feature parity. Some things have changed naturally, so you know, they'll look a little bit different. But basically, you know, if you've been using Coding Rooms for free and you're moving to the new version of the platform, you'll be able to access all the same core features. In terms of like what you could do with it, I guess probably more for free, just because the nature of the platform, it's much more kind of customizable. And yeah, I guess that we're trying to make that transition as seamless as possible, but we're still fairly early on in that process. And then after that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm asking is, I'm actually trying to pitch my Java teachers at the community college on this tool. And I know with the current free model, you get access to those 120 questions, you just can't edit them. So in this case, will they get access to all of CSAwesome just without editing, or how do you perceive that?
The honest answer is we don't know exactly yet.
Okay.
But we'll make sure we do what kind of makes the most sense for our users. And that's a big part of kind of why you know, we're going through this beta process and we're opening up everything initially. And then I'm sure we'll have some offers for folks who you know, contribute a lot to the beta and everything like that.
So is it okay if I put in a request for each account for the different schools, or would that be confusing?
That would be confusing, but if you could add a note or just send us an extra email that you'll be accessing from both, I think that would be good.
Thank you.
I have a question if.
Absolutely, Kathy.
Great. So I've used the, have used the older version of Coding Rooms and then was using beta today. And in all instances, I seem to get lag. So for example, today, like the Runestone pages, the instructional pages were taking a while to load.
So yeah, Kathy, will be absolutely transparent here. We were having some issues in just in the beta app with some lag and delay and slower loading times. Should be all fixed now. As you saw, everything was running great in my demo. So tomorrow, if you still are experiencing those things, please give me an email at joe@codingrooms.com. Okay.
Yep. Because the other thing it might be is time of day in that classroom in our school. So I kind of wanted to get
could be that
narrow it down. So
we did have some issues today with slowdowns, and they're hopefully patched, and everything should be good tomorrow in your class.
All right, thanks. Yeah, it was cool. Kids liked it.
That's what we love to hear.
Yeah.
Couple questions. First of all, you guys did an awesome job. This is really, really nice. First of all, I'm looking at the beta version, and just to confirm this, you have to be on a separate website for the beta version. This is not the same as, I can't just get on CSAwesome from the old Coding Rooms, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
This is only accessible in the beta.
Okay. And then I'm looking at mine, and everything is looks like it's published by default. Is that accurate? And then is there a way to unpublish everything at once?
Yes. So first, let me just mention again, when you first create the course, and we may end up switching this around, I think. When you go to create it, this right here, you want to set this toggle to true to unpublish all content when you first start off. If not, every single page will be published, just like it was. Our original intent was currently Runestone, well, everything's accessible when you first go there, because it's just an open textbook. So you have the ability to limit what students see, but we figured the default to be that. But I'm starting to think that most teachers actually don't want it to be that way. So the default experience maybe should be that everything is not published. So you have to check that off. You haven't invited any students, so feel free to just delete that course and kind of create a new instance of the CSAwesome course for your students, if that's true. Unpublishing is not too big a deal either. We have some improvements that we're going to add in the future, but you can unpublish. You can unpublish. Can you unpublish, Sasha? Actually, let's see.
We don't have an unpublished role.
Okay, so you can publish at the
log that
module
in.
level. Okay, you can publish at the module level. We'll be adding unpublish at the module level too. So I guess unpublishing is a little bit more tedious. So if you haven't added any students, just delete that course. How to delete it? Come on down to the settings for the course, all the way at the bottom. We're going to make this a little more discoverable also. And you can just delete the course there, and then just make sure you have that toggle turned on. If you want, anybody here want to do a custom image for your course, these images that display on the left bar here for the quick navigation between courses, or that kind of header image that displays here. We have a CSAwesome logo, usually will display here, but you can modify that to anything you want. Just go into the course settings and you can upload your own images, your school's logo, design something that you want for the students. Make it easy for you to identify which course is which, and make it easy for the students.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anything else? Ideas, questions?
Any
feedback?
idea how long before we get the demo, the freebie accounts or the beta access?
You should be able to go in and once the form is submitted. Pretty much. I also want to just mention like a few things. So our timeline is we'll be in this beta phase for a little bit. We don't have a day when we plan to sort of leave the beta yet, but for sure the next 3 weeks or so we'll be in this beta process. We really appreciate feedback, bug reports, ideas. You can send them in a variety of ways, and we'll also be following up with more sort of formal ways to report issues, and we might even have something in-app to do that. And then also for those of you who already have content in coding rooms, we'll pretty soon be offering a way for you to basically just import everything, including your students, their submissions, all the grades directly into the new version. So you don't need to worry about having to recreate stuff or save data or anything. And also, if you don't want to move to this new version, we are not sunsetting the classic version, at least not anytime soon. So we want to make sure, at the absolutely promise that it's not going anywhere for at least the next semester. And we just want to be able to work with everybody to move over to this when you have time and when you feel comfortable with it. So just wanted to throw those things out there in case there was any sort of question or concern on that.
Sasha, if you're available to answer this next question, we had someone ask, what is the marketplace coming soon? If you want to take a minute just to talk about some of our plans with that.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll be offering a venue for you to share any content that you've built with other users that'll show up in the marketplace, kind of similar to how we have CSAwesome. So you'll be able to share courses, blocks, pages, and at some point potentially even sell them. Either in a few different ways. It's really early stages, but we want to empower you all to create your own content. We know you're doing it already, and share that with other teachers, and make it easier to adopt different types of content in different ways. And so that's kind of emerging feature that we're working on right now. And a few other notes just in terms, oh, sorry. Just a few other notes in terms of how sort of practical details of getting started. So your students will be able to use the same logins. So they don't need to register, have multiple passwords or anything like that. And in fact, if you're already logged into Coding Rooms, you shouldn't have to log in again to access the beta. And sort of same for the students. So we want to make it really easy to move between both the beta and the classic version seamlessly. And even some features right now, like workspaces, for example, if you click on that, it'll actually take you back to the classic version in a new tab. But your user account and everything there is linked, so you'll be able to keep that data. And then one thing that isn't there yet, but we are sort of working on how that might look, is if you have courses, or as a student, if you're enrolled in multiple courses in the beta and also in the classic version, how you'll be able to navigate between those, because they currently don't show up in the other systems. So we're planning on offering a way so that they'll at least show up on both dashboards, and then if you click on them, it will take you into the right app. So that hopefully should reduce the risk of students kind of getting confused which version there are on, or like which platform they're in.
Is there any reason we shouldn't go live with teaching this in January?
No, but I would say if you do plan to go live with teaching it in January, just let us know like which features and what content, so that we can prioritize those.
You can hit the ground running tomorrow if you want.
Well, given the nearness to the end of the semester, more than I care. Well, yeah, so that's a great question. Like if you migrated now, what would happen to all the work that's in the live classrooms?
It would still be there. It would exist. Everything's still there. You can use both the classic version and the beta version at the same time. Although your account is the same behind the scenes, they're essentially two different apps.
Well, so I get that begs the question: what is migration in that context? Because I have two courses that are live right now, one for web, one for Java, and we'll have the same two courses next semester. So my gut is I should just not mess with it for 2 weeks, and meanwhile do the development in the new environment. Is there any reason not to?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and we'll be offering a way for you then to migrate the content. We'll be able to migrate all of the data over into the new version, and once you migrate, that will kind of have a switch, so that if you go back into the old course, it will redirect you to the course in the new version where it got migrated to. But for the moment, there's nothing to really worry about in terms of migration, if that makes sense.
I have a question. I was wondering about, so yesterday, the workspaces wasn't there on beta, and today it is. And like, so yesterday we were talking about how you could just create pages that are workspaces, but now workspaces is available. So which should I do?
My recommendation would be to, I would have pages that are acting as the workspaces.
So the way that you talked about it yesterday.
Correct, yeah.
That's gonna make the best use of
all the features.
Okay.
What we did here during those sessions yesterday, especially, and it was something that we had on the roadmap. This is just a kind of a band-aid on it right now, is that people may want to access just the classic workspaces from within the beta. So we've added that there. And
Okay.
that's the wonderful thing about the beta, is you wake up one morning and there's things that weren't there the day before.
Yeah, it's fun. Yep. Okay, cool.
So when it says until, and you have the opportunity to put a date until, is that does not unpublish it. It just means that they can't submit something after that date. Is that accurate? They can still
That is
they
my
can,
understanding.
they can still see it. They can still see it as a textbook.
Brian, is that correct?
I can sort of, it's a little nuanced. So if something is not published, it doesn't show up at all for students.
Right.
If something is published, but it's not yet available, what will happen, I believe, is it will show up in the sidebar, but then if they click on it, it will show that this assignment is locked. So they won't be able to access anything. And that's same for both of those timestamps. So if it's not within the window that it's available, they'll see it in the sidebar, but it will show that the assignment's not available right now.
Okay, so just either misunderstanding or a suggestion here. I'll just say, like I would like them to be able to refer back to it at all times later, as in it is a textbook, but not necessarily be able to redo the assignment sometime later, right? The assignment was due, Thursday by 3 o'clock, but they should still be able to get in there and see that. So is there a way to do that at this time?
No, but that is fairly high up on our list in terms of distinguishing content availability from submission sort of timelines.
Yeah, because this is really an assignment and a textbook both, and the textbook feature is great. So again, doing a great job.
Thank you.
So actually schedules, what Sasha described, I remember seeing myself. We must have done a small change. It actually schedules the publishing, so it doesn't show up until that specific time. 8:05 should be coming around the corner. So we'll see what happens. And then I have 8:07. It's going to, let's make this shorter. 8:06 is coming. Okay, it just published. We're good. And let's see what happens at 8:06 when it unpublishes. But please provide your feedback, because it really is dependent on all you beta testers, how that is going to function. So thank you, Daryl, for that feedback. And we're going to continue to accept feedback. I'm going to, please, anybody who wants to sit with me one-on-one and do an interview, and I can just watch you using the platform and talk through it, I'd love to take down your notes. So if you can schedule time with me at any point.
Joe, while we're waiting on 8:06, I have a follow-up question. When we were talking about using the pages in the course as a workspace, as opposed to a workspace itself. If we use a page as a student's workspace, once the course is over and that student's removed, does their work go with it? And on the opposite end, if they had created just a workspace and done some work unrelated to the course in that workspace and they're removed from the course, does that workspace exist with their account if they're no longer associated with our course?
I can take this on. So there's a few different things that will happen there. So if it's group work, there's a whole different behavior. But assuming it's individual work, so none of the content ever gets deleted. But if you publish, unpublish, they'll just lose access, right? Accordingly. And then if you as long as you don't actually delete the page, they'll never lose their work. You delete the page, they'll kind of lose access to it, and it won't be easily recoverable, but we can still recover it. If they drop the course and then they rejoin, they will have it again, assuming they join the same instance of the course. They will regain access to it because that's tied to their own user I believe. So that's kind of the behavior. So if you want them to have something that really lives beyond the course, workspaces are the best way to do it. And we're not dropping that functionality. We're just still in the process of migrating it to the beta. So in many ways, it's still, I would say this is almost exactly the same as Classic, where, you know, if you're kind of have a just general Dropbox, that's a great way to spin up a workspace with a template. And everybody already kind of has their own setup, and it's easy for you as the instructor to automatically have access. But then if students are going to go off and do something unrelated, workspaces is the best.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
I just want to check. So if a student makes like a portfolio, can I see the work in the portfolio as a teacher in that class?
So you're saying the student almost, do they create their own workspace or do they create their own course, I guess?
Their own course and call it portfolio.
You would have to be invited, I guess, to see that
Okay.
work.
So if I had them do that, I would also say to invite me.
Yeah, I would say that some of the things that we have lined up, and Kathy, I think maybe I mentioned this to you, you know, it's I would think more like next school year type of thing. So a little bit later down the roadmap, we're going to allow for students to kind of, I think, create things that are going to work really well as portfolios and other things like that. Some public kind of pages and things that, you know, we have thoughts about.